Let's talk about this week's Natuzora, a TV series on Japan's national broadcaster NHK. I have 2 weeks worth of episodes to talk about. On the Monday before last, we saw it had moved on to the year 1967. Natsu, the protagonist, has moved to a new house in the Nishi Ogikubo district in Tokyo. She started working on this anime called Ally the Witch, which is exactly like Sally the Witch from the 60s. Even the sequence she was drawing looked identical to the opening theme of Sally the Witch, where she flicks her wand. It was funny. And the company's already decided to commercialize this wand. Smart move. Anyway, Natsu has turned 30 years old. Several new studios dedicated to animated TV series have popped up besides Mushi Production and Oriental Animation. As we can see from the new series Little Monster, obviously an imitation of The Monster Kid, anime is becoming mainstream. So, with anime gaining popularity, each TV channel, like TBS for example, starts to create its own animated series by outsourcing their production to animation studios. Although, I forgot the specific names of the produced anime. As a result, many new studios emerge, churning out animated series one after another. And then, we see this character, Mako, again. She's founded her own animation studio, Mako Production, as we see on her business card. Now, if you look closely, it says her studio is located in the neighborhood of Kichijoji in Tokyo. That caught my eyes, but on top of this, it says West Kichijoji. Now, that's really neat. I'll explain. Kichijoji in Musashinoshi City is divided into quarters of south, east, and north, but it doesn't have a west. If you go west, you'll enter the city of Mitaka. So it was pretty neat to see that her office was located in this imaginary quarter, West Kichijoji of Musashino City. Anyway, Mako Production is probably modeled on Tokyo Movie, an animation studio that actually existed in the Nishi Ogikubo district. One of its works was Lupin III. Just take a look at the project Mako Production is working on. It's called Capone III. I mean, anyone could tell it's based on Lupin III. Well, Mako is at a loss because her project isn't progressing. It's waiting for the green light. Its model, Lupin III, was first broadcast in the fall of 1971. So it'll still take a while. At the time, Tokyo Movie was raking it in thanks to the success of its animated TV series, Star of the Giants. So, no matter how many times she tries to persuade her bosses that her project will find an audience in adults, they'll keep demanding the same type of series as Star of the Giants, a world of sports where the protagonist pours blood, sweat, and tears into his training as an aspiring athlete. That's why they're reluctant to give the green light to a project like Lupin III. Or rather, Capone III, I guess. It goes to show that this idea of anime for adults still hasn't caught on. Personally, the past 2 weeks of Natuzora bored me to death, to the point that I had to double the playback speed at times to make it go faster. I mean, what's the point of focusing on the protagonist's pregnancy and childbirth? These are hackneyed, commonplace topics that can be found anywhere. Up till now, Natuzora was quite interesting. In my opinion, there are only 2 ways for a series to be an absolute hit. Either you tell a novel story in an ordinary way, or you tell an ordinary story in a novel way. You can't tell a novel story in a novel way because that'd be too extreme. And you can't tell an ordinary story in an ordinary way because that'd be too boring. As for Natuzora, the way the story is told couldn't be more cliché. The screenwriter doesn't use any new method to tell the story, nor does he have to. But Natuzora was interesting because it dealt with a novel topic, the dawning of the anime boom. So it told a novel story in an ordinary way. But if you start to deal with well-worn themes like the anguish of a working mother, while you continue to tell the story in the same ordinary way, of course, it's going to become boring. And when a series becomes boring, it starts to rely heavily on actors. But at that point, it really can't be saved. An interesting story would make an interesting series, regardless of the acting. But if it starts relying too much on characters or actors who play these roles, a series suddenly stops being interesting. But I'm actually looking forward to next week's episodes because we saw in the preview that it will focus on the year 1970, 1 year after Natsu gave birth to her daughter. Apollo 11's landing on the moon happened in 1969, and Osaka hosted Expo 70. So Japan should be in a celebratory mood, though we don't really see it. Natsu is now 33 years old, and in the preview, we get a glimpse of a new striking animated series. It's obviously about boxing. I think it's safe to assume that it's modeled on Ashita no Joe, also known as Tomorrow's Joe. Although this sketch is so low quality, I can't tell for sure. But in reality, Ashita no Joe was made by Mushi Productions, so it probably won't be produced by Natsu nor Mako in the episode. Mushi Production will probably make Ashita no Joe or Tiger Mask or Kick no Oni, also known as the Demon of Kickboxing, and it'll herald the boom of sports anime. Up until now, animated TV series were supposed to be for kids, but the trend changed, and all of a sudden the whole animation industry began to make sports anime. So I suspect this will influence Natsu and Mako in some way. Maybe a new project will pop up, or maybe the project they've been working on, like Capone III, will be rejected.